Hello and welcome to Backwards Design PLC. Today we're going to focus on our 6th grade math teaks, and we're going to choose 2 teaks and we're going to design a plan to help us be ready for the first start of school. In the process, we're going to learn about backwards design. So here we go. Just what is backwards design? Backwards design is designing a plan with the end in mind. In a book by Sean Covey called The 7 Habits of Healthy Kids, he states that the second habit of healthy kids is beginning with the end in mind. How does backwards design tie into this? Because in backwards design, we must begin with the end in mind as well. We need a clear picture of our end results. In backwards designs, it means seeing the big picture and working backwards to obtain the goals. How does it look? Let's pretend we're going to take a trip to Vegas from Texas. We have to map out our trip and know the route that we're going to take. We have to determine the best way to travel that is most economical and the safest. In traveling, we'll have to plan our stops. So we'll start in Texas and drive until we get to New Mexico. Then we'll go to Arizona and then Nevada. Now along the way we'll have to stop for gas, food, shelter, and we have to map those things out as well. Now that we've determined our stops and shelter, we can start our trip. Here we go, Vegas or bust. Now remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Backwards design, the 3-step process. In backwards design, there's a 3-step process, which the first step is to identify the desired results. This means, what is it that we're actually wanting to achieve? What is our big picture? What do we want our students to learn? And in doing so, we're going to look at our teaks to determine what it is that we want our students to learn. We're going to let our knowledge and skills guide our instruction. The second step is to determine acceptable evidence. This is going to mean, how do we know that they're learning? What resources are they using to learn? And what are we teaching them? What strategies are we teaching them to use for learning? And how are we assessing them in the learning process? The last step is plan learning experiences and instruction. This is the part where we actually write out our lesson plans and the activities that the students are to do to help gain the information we want them to learn. The first step is to establish goals, the big picture. Today we're going to focus on Teak 6.2D, order a set of rational numbers arising from mathematical and real-world contexts, and 6.4G, generate equivalent forms of fractions, decimals, and percents using real-world problems, including problems that involve money. What a better place to do it than Vegas. Understanding. This part is what we want our students to understand. What is the reason behind the teaks that we're teaching? So they can learn numerical data in the form of rational numbers can be graphed on a number line and or on a coordinate plane. Part-to-whole relationships can be expressed in equivalent fractions and decimal forms. Number sense can be developed by being able to recognize equivalent values in different forms. Rational relationships between quantities can be expressed in many ways. We need to establish rigorous questions for them. Higher order of thinking. How can equivalent forms of a fractional value be generated? How do you decide which form of a rational number is best to use in a situation? And how is graphing an ordered pair of rational numbers similar or different than graphing an ordered pair of whole numbers? What we want them to know. In order to do these things, they have to have academic vocabulary. Terms such as positive number, negative number, equivalent, mixed number, improper fraction, unit fraction, percent, decimal, rational numbers. The student should be able to generate an equivalent form of a fractional value, decide which form of a rational number is best to use in a situation, decide how graphing rational numbers or different numbers are different than graphing an ordered pair of whole numbers. Step 2, evidence of learning. How do we know that they're getting it? We're going to give them some resources to help them. Our district has set up in our curriculum different strategies, which we're going to narrow down a few of those. So to help them learn, we're going to have them make Cornell notes or foldables. We're going to use interventions, closing distance interventions for one. This is to help students who are struggling in some of these areas. And clarifying activities, things that clarify the learning for each student. Assessment. We're going to use our math text, chapter reviews, journal entries when we're working and they're doing hands-on, using hand-on manipulatives. They're going to journal about their experience with that. We're going to check their daily work. And then we're also going to use district established assessments. The 3-step learning plan. 3-step planning, experience, and instruction. Students are going to create, this is our process. This is where we do our lesson plans and what we expect them to do. They're going to create vocabulary foldables for key vocabulary terms, where they take the paper and they fold it and then we slit it and they can have the word on the top or the definition, and when they pull it back it's the word or the definition, or vice versa. Another foldable is equivalent foldable for converting fractions to decimals, which will help them with money and doing keying activities. One activity is called the lineup, and students build a human number line, and they have to, according to whatever number they have to line up and establish the number order, going from greatest to least or least to greatest. Now these are the 3 steps in the backwards design. And our ultimate destination is to have a plan in place. And so we've gone through and established our 3 steps and the things that we're going to use to build the plan. Now we're going to put it all together. So our first steps were establishing our goals. We knew what we want. We knew what we wanted the students to understand. We established the rigorous questions. We established key vocabulary. And we established what the students should be able to do. In step 2, evidence of learning, we established resources and strategies to help students develop skills and ways to learn. We established resources that we as teachers are going to use to assess student learning. And in step 3, we plan experience and instructions for our students. We establish activities for the students that are focused on the text, engaging, learner-centered, and relevant to student interests. By doing this, we've established a backwards design plan, which is going to enable us to move forward with instruction in the 6th grade in math, and so which is going to ultimately lead to student learning, and that's our ultimate goal. So let's take this plan and let's run with it. I hope we all have a great year, and I'm looking forward to seeing all this stuff in progress. Thanks a lot.